Okay, in this video, what we're going to do is take a look at the menu bar for Maya. Now, you may be familiar with menu bars because, well, they're available in just about every Windows application out there.
Right.
And in our case, the menu bar inside of Maya works just a little bit different than most typical menu bars.
Well, most menu bars in a Windows application are going to be the same throughout. They're never going to change. They're always going to have, like, File, Edit, View, and all, you know.
That's right, static.
They never change. They never move. Maya, on the other hand, is going to show you different things based on what it is you're doing inside of Maya.
That's right. Now, you'll notice that with, like, all menus inside of Windows, we always have a file, right? You got to have a way to get to a new scene, to open up or save files.
And if they called it anything but file, nobody would know what it did.
That's right. And almost every application out there then has an edit button, allowing you to do such things as copy, paste, etc.
Undo, redo.
Yeah, very typical things.
Sure.
And almost every application out there has a help. That's where you're going to find your lovely about near the bottom.
And if it doesn't, it should.
Yeah, that's correct. So anyways, those are going to be common. We have a few others that are going to be common as well. When I say common, what I mean is these menu options will be available at all times as long as the menu bar is visible.
Right, they're never going to change.
So, what are these things? Well, we have modify, we have create, we have display, and we have window. So from file all the way over to window, and then down here at the very end, help, those menu options will always be there.
Right.
Okay? Now, what are the different modes that we can be working in inside of Maya? Well, we can see these quickly over here with this drop-down on the status line.
These are our menu sets.
That's right, and what is available inside this drop-down menu will vary depending on the version of Maya that you're running. If you're running Maya Complete, you'll have one series of things. If you have Maya PLE, well, you'll have the same thing. If you have Maya Unlimited, you'll have a different set of things. But no matter what, we're going to have, everybody is going to have animation, modeling, dynamics, and rendering. So if we're dealing with making things move, rigging up characters, or working with deformers, we're going to be on the animation menu set.
Sure.
If we're dealing with modeling operations,
Building something.
that's right, working with curves to generate surfaces, working with polygonal objects, etc., we're going to be
Subdivision surfaces.
we're going to be working with the modeling menu set. If we're working with particles, rigid bodies, soft body dynamics, etc., we will be working with the dynamics menu set. And finally, if we're dealing with lights, textures, and things along those lines,
Sure.
we'll be dealing with rendering. Okay?
Very cool.
So, let's go ahead and switch it back to animation, or keep it on animation. So, animate, deform, skeleton, skin, constrain, characters. These things right here belong to the animation menu set. Now let's go ahead and come over here and switch this over to modeling. Now take a look. Now we have things like edit curves, surfaces, edit NURBS, polygons, edit polygons, subdivision surfaces, all options that are related to modeling.
Right, and just to take one more lash at the old dead horse, you'll notice that File, Edit, Modify, Create, Display, Window, and Help are still here and have not changed.
That's right. So switching yet again, let's come down here to Dynamics. Again, it changes. So now we're dealing with particles, fluid effects, hair, fields, soft and rigid bodies, effects, and solvers. And finally, switching over here to rendering, now we have lighting / shading, texturing, render, paint effects, and fur if you're utilizing Maya Unlimited. Right. Okay, so you'll notice that these are going to be these are the only four things we're going to be talking about in this video because it is what is relevant to the world of Maya fundamentals,
sure,
if you will. Okay, so another way, a hotkey way to switch between the different menu sets.
Ooh, I love hotkeys.
Okay, Zach, give me a hotkey. How can I switch between them?
Well, F2 is going to be your animation menu set, which doesn't matter because you're already
there.
Yeah. F3 is going to be for modeling.
Okay.
F4 is going to be for dynamics, and
Okay.
F5 is going to open up rendering.
Look at that. So Zach is the hotkey man. That's right. So F2, 3, F4, and F5 will switch you between the different menu sets. Now there is another way to switch between them. Actually, several more ways.
There's a lot of
using
ways.
the hotbox, using marking menus, etc. And these are going to be covered a little bit later on.
Right.
Now, to take a quick second and look at the common menu options that are always available. And we're not going to dive into all of these.
Oh, no.
But up under File, actually, before I even do that, let's take a look at one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that is with menu bars, you can tear them off.
Tear off menus,
And
man. The
this-
way of the future.
This becomes very convenient when working with some sort of operation that requires you to repeat it over and over and over.
Whenever I'm modeling, I will always tear off my my modeling menu.
Because you're able to keep all of these various tools right there at your side.
Oh, yeah.
So to tear off, what does that mean? Well, basically, if I just click those two parallel lines, you can see now I have ripped my menu off. Rip. If I come back up here, it's still there.
Yeah.
Not that I need to rip it off again, but now I have this available to me, so if I was doing a lot of importing or whatever, I have it available. In Zach's case, he was describing, or he's working in the modeling set, and let's say he's dealing with polygons, he could simply tear off the Edit Polygons menu, move it over here.
There's all my tools.
And he's working,
right there.
He's doing his thing, he needs to merge some vertices, click. Now he's moving, and now he needs to come over here and chamfer some vertices, click. And it's very convenient.
Very nice.
Okay, so let's go ahead and close that. And also, before we start tying into, or start talking about some of these different things, let's go ahead and talk about one more common thing that you're going to find inside the menu bar that some of our new users may not be familiar with. And that is this little graphic over here.
The options box.
The options box. So basically, when we are, let's say, creating something, and I'm going to create a polygon primitive, and I want to make a cylinder. Well, if I have various options that I need to set before the cylinder is created, I could come over here to the options box, click it, and you'll notice I then get an options dialog in which I can go ahead and specify various settings before the object is actually created.
And it's going to store these settings, so the next time we reach up into the menu and try to create that object again, it's going to create it the same way we specify here.
That's right. That is very important to understand. No matter where in any of your menus you come in and click on this options box and you set something, it will remember those settings.
That's right.
Keep that in mind. This actually, I've seen this cause grief for several students in the past, where they forget that they've made these changes, and then they'll go in and basically they get themselves in trouble.
And just as a reminder, just about any function that's going to have an options box, if you come in here, I'll just pick on duplicate as an example, you're going to have an edit menu inside where you can reset the settings back to the factory defaults, if you will, to set them back to the way they were when you first launched the program.
And some of the option boxes will also have a reset button as well. So it's one or the other, but that will allow you to reset things. As a matter of fact, throughout this fundamentals course, one of the things that you will see me do often is just every time I make a change in an options box, I always reset it
before you close it.
Before I close it, just out of habit. That's right. So now taking a quick look at some of the things that we have available. Up under File, basically we are dealing with files, creating a new scene, opening a scene that we've already saved, saving out scenes, saving preferences, optimizing a scene size where we can go in and basically have Maya analyze our scene and remove nodes that no longer need to be there, etc. Import things, export things that are selected, view image, view sequence, and we'll start talking about how these guys work a little bit later on. Create reference, the reference editor, and then finally dealing with projects, which is going to become extremely important when we start dealing with our first project.
Very much so.
You should always work inside a project as opposed to just simply starting Maya up and working in the default project. And finally, down to the bottom, exit. And of course, we have recent files, recent increments, and recent projects.
A lot of the stuff you're going to be used to if you've used a lot of Windows applications like Microsoft Office or anything like that.
Moving over to edit, the things that we're looking at is the ability to undo and redo things along with repeating commands and actions. Moving on down, we can cut, copy, and paste. That's pretty straightforward. We can do things dealing with keys for cut, copy, and paste, working with keys. This one we get into keyframes. Then we can start deleting by type. We need to delete construction history, etc. We get down into various types of selections and selection tools, duplicating objects, grouping and ungrouping objects, and working with hierarchies where we start parenting. Moving on over here to modify, and we start dealing with modifications. We're doing modifications to things like centering up the pivot point, adding custom attributes, conversions of one type to another type.
Or even moving, rotating, and scaling objects.
Absolutely. Also doing things like freezing transformations, resetting transformations, and snap alignments.
And a lot of these things we're going to be covering as we go through the projects.
That's right. Create, this is where you can create just about anything you need to inside of Maya.
Yeah, actually.
NURBS primitives, polygon primitives, subdivision primitives, volumes, lights, cameras, curves that can then be used to generate NURBS surfaces, measure tools if you need to measure out distances, etc. Create text, construction planes, locators, annotations if you want to leave notes in your scene. There's just a ton of different things, and again, we're going to be covering a lot of this throughout the course.
And don't be afraid, especially in the Create menu, to just come in and start experimenting. Just start trying to create things and see what you come up with.
Because you're not going to blow Maya up.
No, you're not going to break Maya, and really one of the best ways to learn is just to get in and start practicing on your own while you do this.
That's a fact. Moving on over from there, we've got display, and then display is where we're going to control the things we can and cannot see in our viewport, and also how certain things will show up in the viewport.
Right.
Moving on over to window, well, this is where we can gain access to a lot of the utility panels that we have inside of Maya.
Sure.
So if I wanted to open up, let's say, the outliner, Earlier, I showed you guys in the viewport lesson how I was able to take one of the panels and change that panel over to an outliner. Now what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating that panel encompassed in a window where I can move it around, maximize it, minimize it, etc.
Right. And the window menu is also going to allow you access to switching on and off many of the pieces of the UI if you, for example, don't think you need them anymore.
That's right.
Or if you have hidden them, you need to bring them back.
As a matter of fact, you're going to find me working most of the time with my panels in a window state, if you will. That's just how I like to work. Works really great if you've got dual monitors as well.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go ahead and close that out. So that's up underneath Windows. Again, we're not going to start talking about all of these various menu options here for the simple fact that these will change depending on the mode. And once we start getting into that, we're then taking this lesson and turning it into an hour and a half long lesson because we're then having to talk about all of the different modes. Finally, over here on Help, we've got things related to help.
Getting
Maya.
help, yeah.
Most important ones, of course, Maya Help. Maya Help has come a long ways over the last few versions.
You can actually get some pretty good help out of it these days.
Yes, you can. It has really matured nicely.
Don't be afraid to dig into it and start looking up things.
Of course, there's learning movies, tutorials, and latest release notes from the web. And then moving on down, if you start getting in a little bit deeper into Maya and you're interested in like Mel programming, you can find a command reference and a node and attribute reference as well. So that's pretty much a quick look at the menu bar that is available inside of Maya. Now, as you become a bit more proficient with working with Maya, you may find yourself hiding this menu bar.
Sure.
And we're going to show you how to do that later on. Because, why would you want to hide it? Well, with just about everything that you can do inside of Maya, there seems to be 100 different ways to do that.
Just so that you can bend Maya to your own workflow.
So all because you see a create up here, and this is how you can come down to create an object like a polygon sphere. Well, I can also come over here to my shelf under polygons and create a sphere that way. Or I could hold the space bar and bring up my hotbox and come up here to create a polygon sphere that way.
Or you could go down to the command line and type polysphere if you wanted to.
There's just so many different ways. And as you become more proficient working with Maya, you're going to find the ways that work best for you.
Right.
So with that, that's going to wrap up this lesson. Just keep in mind the menu bar is somewhat dynamic in the fact that it changes based on the menu set required by the mode of operation that you're doing, the things you're performing, that is.
That's right.
So with that, that's going to wrap up this lesson. Thanks a lot.